Yeah, we are alive now.
Okay. Thank you, Rishabh. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome all. Welcome, Ashwin sir. Welcome to this session. We are very glad to have you here, and I hope people get out with some very interesting insights through this session. I'll take some time to introduce Ashwin Ragav and some of his escapades, which he has been, some of his works which he has been doing. So, first of all, he's a CEO at Specklar. Specklar is a startup which is dealing towards vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, VAPT in short. So they analyze the companies and the vulnerabilities. I'm so sorry, and provide cybersecurity solutions for that. He's also the CTO of TeenVisor, and along with this, he's also the founder and CEO of Astra CyberSec, all dealing with the latter dealing with the cybersecurity domain, and TeenVisor dealing towards providing better education to teens and other people around the globe. He is also a very ethical hacker, is a blockchain enthusiast, and he's been a public speaker. He has held sessions at many different colleges and places, and is contributing towards spreading the awareness towards blockchain and cybersecurity, and is helping students from his expertise and experience, which he has built up in a very short time. Over to you, sir, if you would take the session forward from now.
Thank you, Chitrapal. So, hello everyone. So, myself, I'm Ashwin Ragav. As Chitrapal said, I'm the founder of Specklar and I'm the CTO of TeenVisor, and I'm the CEO and founder of another cybersecurity based organization called Specklar. So, let me share my screen. So, I hope the screen is visible to you.
Uh, okay, yes, sir, it is visible.
Perfect. So, hello guys. In today's session, we are going to see about blockchain forensics. We might feel something that is fascinating and curious when we hear this term blockchain because it deals with cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is the hottest topic in this 2023 and 2024, and even the topic is so curious and everybody are into blockchain. But you know what, since blockchain has an advantage, it has multiple disadvantages also. N number of criminal activities are taking place using these blockchain technologies. And how do we overcome those? Only when we understand how we can do investigations on blockchain, how we could, you know, create a better awareness about blockchain. It would be better for us when we do any transactions over blockchain, because the one advantage about blockchain is it is peer to peer. That is, if I send a transaction or if I send something to another person, no middleman is involved. Directly it will be node to node transfer. So since there is no intermediate involved, we cannot prevent any explicit transactions. That is the only main reason many illegal activities, many terrorism organizations use blockchain and cryptocurrencies as the mode of payments. Today's session is going to be super exciting because we are going to cover multiple things about blockchain. What is blockchain from the foundation, from the base level, to how we can perform a hands-on on blockchain forensics. How, and I've also included certain interesting case studies which I came across. Even I've dealt with certain cases where probably we really felt so fascinated about these kind of technologies really do exist. So without wasting any further time, let me start the session. So in today's agenda, we'll be having first introduction of I'll just gonna share a little bit about myself. Then we're gonna have the foundations of blockchain and the components of blockchain. How does this blockchain networks work? And we are gonna start about the introduction of blockchain forensics. What is, how can we set a mini version of our blockchain forensic lab? And we are also going to perform a hands-on training on blockchain, either Bitcoin transactional analysis, and we are also going to explore certain tools. So this is our agenda today. So before I start, I'm just going to share a little bit about myself. As you know, I'm Ashwin Ragav. I'm the founder of Specklar. a cybersecurity based organization which empowers government organizations, IT firms all across globe. And I'm a cybersecurity researcher, tech enthusiast. I'm a guest speaker in more than 25 plus events, and I'm also the CTO of TeenWiser. TeenWiser is a community-based startup specifically crafted for teenagers, which empowers ambitious as well as passionate teenagers. That's of me. Let me start with blockchain. What is blockchain? What do you think? There's what when you hear this term, what do you feel? Blockchain, something that denotes blocks, something that we instantly cryptocurrencies come to our mind, right? But cryptocurrency is just one protocol that is using this technology, but there are n number of things that uses this blockchain. NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens, many ledgers, many decentralized nodes, many secure systems, many organizations utilize the blockchain technology just to create or just to communicate or just to send and receive files in an easier as well as safe manner. First, let me talk about a distributed ledger. Basically, what is a ledger? Ledger is it is a record. It is a digital record that actually stores all the transaction. If you look at why the name blockchain, because it is a network of nodes, and each nodes we have like 50 to 100 blocks. A block is nothing but it is also a subcomputer which validates all the transactions. So basically, blockchain is a network of computers, and if you send any transaction, it would be validated inside the nodes inside the specific network itself. That is the reason this is so safe and this is so secure. And this blockchain is decentralized. No single authority, no middleman, or no intermediate authority has control over blockchain. If I want to send some 100 crores or 10,000 crores to some other person, I don't need to pay any tax because there is no middleman involved. That is the reason most of the terrorism organizations and lot more illegal activities takes place in the form of this cryptos. But cryptocurrency is not entirely scam, but scams occur by using this name. We all know India, it is a huge country, and if you look at the investing market of India, India is one of the solid investors in cryptocurrency. People to invest in stock, people to invest in commodities, people to also invest in currency pairs. But also Indians have good awareness about cryptocurrencies, and we hold a significant portion of the world cryptocurrency market. So this is what blockchain. And since this is decentralized, no one can understand how we can say, I mean, how to trace this. Even people are not having that much awareness about blockchain. Right now, if you look at the cybersecurity industry, if you look at the cyber cell, tracing a transaction that is made not on the blockchain, not on Web 2, but even if a transaction, illegal transaction is made on normal Web 2 banks, it might be your bank transaction or your UPI transaction. These people in cyber cell and people, especially the public, they are not able to retrieve funds even they send it through this UPI payments. I'm just telling this because if you deeply understand about the transaction between a bank, the payment system that bank works, when you send something, for example, let us assume I'm sending 1,000 or 10,000 rupees to someone. Obviously, my bank is involved over here, and after my bank, RBI is involved, and after RBI, the receiver's bank is involved. In these intermediate stages, while initializing a transaction, either my bank or the receiver's bank or RBI, all these three banks have the access to break down and revert the payment. But still, n number of funds are even being stolen in normal payment system itself. So what assume, even if people cannot retrieve funds with these kind of normal payment banks, how could they retrieve funds in blockchain? That's hardly possible. 99% it is impossible to retrieve funds when it is sent to a wrong address or when it is sent in a blockchain network. But we have another additional advantage of tracing them. I'll tell you how cyber security researchers and crypto investigators, forensics experts investigate over blockchain networks. So first, before understanding how this forensics works, we have to understand what are the components that are inside blockchain. I told you we understood what blockchain is, but inside blockchain we have certain components that help us in a efficient manner to identify these kind of transactions. So the first component that we are going to see is blocks. See, blocks are, it is a list of transaction. It is a timestamp. It is basically a record book. This record book consists of all the previous transactions and all the timestamps. It consists of all the information. Basically, it is a kind of record book. The second component that we have is the transactions. This transaction, one interesting thing about this blockchain network is it is not 100% anonymous. I repeat, the transactions that you make is not 100% safe. It is not 100% non-traceable. It is not 100% anonymous. It is pseudo anonymous, which means I do not know who sent the transaction, but I can understand that there is a transaction between these two IDs, but I don't know who is the person behind that ID. So by this advantage, we can leverage this advantage, and using this advantage, we can trace the flow of funds. And using this flow of funds, we can find the victim. So this is how a rough outline of blockchain forensics works. So the third component that we have is hash functions. Guys, this we all know this is about this cryptographic functions, right? If one transaction or one input is initiated, definitely it will return a fixed string, just because to ensure the authenticity or just to ensure the integrity. So for this, if you're sending some input, obviously we'll be getting a return string. By also analyzing this hash functions and this return strings, we'll also get certain additional information. So this is how basically we have to understand all these three type of things, so that during our hands-on session we'll be taking one transaction, analyzing its block, and using that block we'll be analyzing all the hash functions, and we are going to trace how the flow of Bitcoin is going over there. So I hope you understood the blocks, which is the components inside the blockchain. Yeah, we understood about blockchain, but what is a blockchain network? We all know Bitcoin, the famous, that is the brand name for blockchain and cryptocurrencies. That's the first cryptocurrency that came into the market. The most popular one, that is Bitcoin, and the second most popular one is the Ethereum. So Bitcoin itself, it has its own network. So network is basically its own computers, its own nodes. It will validate all the transaction inside their nodes itself. Same way, we have, this is a public blockchain. Anybody can go check the transaction. People know there is this Bitcoin exists. But there are 4 different types of blockchain. So we saw Bitcoin, which is a public blockchain. But we have certain, blockchain networks like Hyperledger, Codla, Solana. These are private blockchains. No, there is a huge difference between public blockchains and these private blockchains. These public blockchains are actually open to everyone. Anyone can go, anyone can, do a transaction, initiate a transaction, verify or validate the transactions, or he can use the cryptocurrencies, he can buy the cryptocurrencies. It is openly available to anyone. But if you look at this private blockchains, just it is kind of invite only based blockchain, where it has this restricted access. Only the authorized participants are allowed to join, and only they are allowed to initiate the transactions. The one disadvantage of this restricted access is, since the access is restricted, any external tracing cannot be done, or it might be a tedious process when we investigate on private blockchains. But if you look at the number of transactions that takes place in the blockchain, 90% of the transactions that obviously takes place in public blockchains. There are minimal transactions only takes place in the private blockchains, but still, if we do our advanced persistent blockchain forensics, we can also trace the transactions inside the private blockchain networks. The third, we have this consortium blockchains. We all know that the recent news led by RBI, the development of digital e-rupee. So this digital e-rupee is something that is close to this blockchain. It is integrated with the Web3, but still it is not successful because it is a consortium blockchain. It is controlled by a group of organizations rather a single entity. And it also doesn't have the good stability as do the public blockchain networks have. That is why this consortium blockchains do not hold that much value. People do not realize because this is not that much popular than the public blockchain networks. And as I told you, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tron, Solana, these are some popular blockchain networks. I have one interesting thing to share with you. When I was years back, probably 3 to 4 years back, when I was working with these, senior cybersecurity researchers who purely work with this blockchain networks, I read an interesting case. In 2017, there was a cave. There was a cave in US, and people, that cave was actually used a hub for illegal drug transactions and illegal drug transmissions. So the first recorded case in 2017 was people go to the cave, they just give their cash in dollars to that specific cashier, and that cashier will convert that cash into some cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and he'll send it to the main boss. What happens? He'll just that the buyer, he'll just write his address, and in return, the cashier he'll just give a number. He'll just give a number 57 or 56 something. So after 2 or 3 days, the person who initiated the transaction, he'll be getting a parcel. So probably when he opens the package, he found there is a book. And what he did is, he just opened the book. After opening the book, he tore the page number that that person gave. The cashier gave a number, and he tore that page, and he tore the page into small, small pieces, and he ate those. Because, do you know why? Did he eat that? Because these guys, these criminals, they transported the drugs in the form of books. They'll just quote one page of that book into this cocaine weed or something. There are different types of explicit drugs, and they'll do a layer coating on that specific page, and that is how they initiated this. That is how they initiated the use of blockchain. This LEAs are basically the law enforcement agencies. That is the first time they are encountering something that the transaction is taking place over some digital way, which is in blockchain. People are aware about net banking and internet transactions, but initially in 2017, they felt that this is something so curious, and people are, especially the people inside law enforcement agencies, are so confused. So after that, after 2017, people began to investigate much on dark web. You all knew about dark web, right? Dark web is a damn interesting topic. Everybody talks about dark web. When you come into the cybersecurity industry, everybody would have at least heard this term dark web. What is dark web? You would wonder if I tell you who created dark web. Any idea? Do you know any idea who actually created the protocols for dark web? Dark web is actually created. Any ideas, guys? Just unmute yourself. Let it be an interactive session.
If I'm not wrong, the US government itself.
Exactly. The US Navy. The US Navy actually initiated this Tor protocol just to ensure safe as well as confidential communication between the specific generals. But due to the technological revolution, after some time, it gradually got into the hands of explicit people like terrorism, terrorist organizations, black hat hackers, illegal organizations. All these people misused these specific protocols just because it is anonymous. If you look at the deeper way how these Tor protocols work, even it is a series of proxies. You all have heard of this proxy. Proxy is a kind of server. So since this Tor, if you visit a site in Tor, what happens is your system would be connected to 7 different computers, and after this, the path of 7 computers, that is the 7 proxy servers in 7 different locations, only then your data would be sent to the specific website. If you dig deeper, if you take this IPDR report for each and every proxy, it will take more than 7 to 8 years to find the actual person, and still we can't give the surety of this is the specific IP, because it is a series of connections. We can't find a specific user if he is using Tor, but still we can identify them using certain protocols, like when we try to analyze the input relays and the output relays, the specific data strings that we get while the user is connecting to the website and when the user is exiting. If we track that, again, that is possible. I have really exciting case studies about dark web. Please wait till the end of the session. Yeah. So now I'm going to talk about the interaction of blockchain forensics. So guys, as I told you, after these cyber criminals began using these technology, which is cryptocurrency, as a medium of transaction for all the illegal activities, these law enforcement agencies began concentrating more on forensicating over the blockchain networks. Because if you look at the illegal transaction, more than $1 trillion are being made every single day. There are more than 10,000 bitcoins sent, and the value of one bitcoin is close to 40 to 45 lakhs in Indian rupees. So millions and trillions of dollars are being stolen, looted on illegal activities. So blockchain forensics is basically the process of analyzing and tracing the transactions. Basically, we are doing an investigation. We are investigating on the fraud money or the illegal money that is flown using cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Monero, Ethereum, Tron, USDT. There are a lot of coins, cryptocurrencies. So this is what blockchain forensics is. And the purpose of understanding this blockchain forensics is that this would definitely help law enforcement agencies and cybersecurity experts to trace down and track all the illegal activities that takes place in the dark web and that takes place inside our web too. And this also helps us to recover all the stolen assets in the form of cryptos. So if you look at the key focus areas, we'll be identifying the source of the transaction and the destination of the transaction. And we'll be linking all the addresses to real world identities. Like, we'll be having only the address, guys. It is just a text, a hexadecimal code, and we have to find a person who is behind that code. We'll be uncovering the patterns, the connection between all the different transactions. So this is what the actual blockchain forensics is. This is the purpose of learning and understanding blockchain forensics, and this is why we have to learn this. Only when we understand how blockchain works and how blockchain forensics works, we could be able to investigate over blockchain. Yeah. So I told you, right, blockchain forensics. So before understanding blockchain forensics, we have to understand what are the key techniques, what are the internal process that takes place inside this blockchain forensics. We have like more than 7 to 8 different processes, 7 to 8 key techniques, but the major ones I've just listed over here. We have this transaction tracing, address clustering, network analysis, entity attribution, smart contract analysis, heuristic analysis or heuristic techniques, forensic tools and platforms. You might feel that these terms which I listed over here might sound something that is complex, but it's actually not. It's so simple if you understand stuffs. Transaction tracing. So guys, transaction tracing is so simple. See, basically what we're going to do is we are going to trace the flow of funds. For example, if I'm sending $1,000 to person A and that person is sending $1,000 to some person B, and that person is sending the same amount of funds to person C, we are basically, identifying this flow. That is, the fund is being sent from me to A to B, and B to C. We are actually identifying the pathway, identifying the pathway of these transactions. Then we have this address clustering. Address clustering is identifying a group of addresses that control the same entity. For example, if you look at Binance is a huge organization that deals with cryptocurrencies. It is a exchange, a cryptocurrency exchange that holds a huge portion of this cryptos. So if you look at certain addresses, they will be controlled by same entity. For example, there will be one organization, and this one organization will be having over 10 to 15 crypto wallets, and all these crypto wallets would be linked. They are interlinked. We have to understand sometimes by analyzing the patterns of the spending, analyzing the patterns of this transactions, we have to find the cluster of addresses. Basically, this is a cluster of addresses. By identifying this cluster of addresses, we can also find the ownership because they have the common ownership indicators. The third, we have this network analysis. Guys, basically, this is so simple. We are just examining the structure of networks. The structure of networks is basically, as I told you in the previous slide, we have certain information, certain differentiation between public blockchain networks and private blockchain networks. So my question to you is, if you know there is a specific network that is existing, we all know that Bitcoin is actually existing now, right? What will you do if you doesn't even know which network they are utilizing? What will you do? Just unmute yourself, guys. Let this session be an interactive session. If you doesn't even know what network it is of, how can you identify the transactions? Any idea? Hello?
So I think we are not aware of that,
Okay.
it seems.
No idea, boss.
Okay. So guys, basically I'll tell you. See, as I told you, blockchain, it is comprised of all the nodes. Nodes are basically computers. If you identify how the patterns of these nodes are connected, we can identify the structure of the blockchain. The way that these nodes are interconnected, the way that the funds are flowing between these nodes, we can analyze the network. That is, we can examine the structure of the network, then we can find the network. Because similar patterns would be already registered in the previous cases. For example, if I find a pattern that is like 10 different addresses is being sent, I mean, funds from 10 different addresses are being sent to one single address, I can just use the same node pattern, and if I analyze the previous forensic cases about blockchain, I can identify similar structures that are similar to this, and through that I can identify which network it is of. So after identifying the network, we can also try investigating using this transaction tracing and address clustering method. And we also have this entity attribution. So this entity attribution is, if you perform a transaction on verified exchanges like Binance, if you look at the exchanges, we have two different exchanges, that is centralized exchange and decentralized exchange. If you look at decentralized exchanges, we don't need KYC or any authentication to perform a transaction or exchange your cryptocurrencies to some other cryptocurrencies. An exchange is basically simple. If you give BTC, it can exchange your BTC for any other cryptocurrency. That is how an exchange works. So, but one interesting part about this decentralized exchanges is it doesn't require KYC. But in contrary, these centralized exchanges, they definitely need a KYC. If you go to Binance, if you go to Vezirix, if you go to KuCoin, all these platforms will definitely require your specific KYC information. So if we find an address that is linked with KYC data, it will be easier for us to identify. Using that KYC data also, we can identify the person. Because if you link your KYC data with your centralized exchange, automatically your Aadhaar card, your PAN card, your IT information would be there. So using that information, we can easily trace down a person and track them. By using this entity attribution, it is very faster and easier to find a person. But most of the people, 90% of the cases, we don't have records of this entity attribution. People don't use this KYC data. They rely on decentralized exchanges, because the main reason these cryptocurrencies was actually created is privacy, anonymity. And since centralized exchanges break that, 90%, 99% of the criminals, they won't rely on this centralized exchanges. They only rely on this decentralized exchanges, and that is how they do the transactions. And even they have a specific thing called mixers. Basically, mixer is also an illegal transactional flow, where if I send $10,000 or 10,000 bitcoins, it will shuffle to 10 different addresses and again come back to my original address. This is actually built to break down this blockchain forensics actually. So similar way, we have n number of methods and attributes. We also have this smart contract analysis. Smart contract analysis is basically any kind of cryptocurrency or any kind of token, if it is vulnerable or if it is made for the malicious intent, by analyzing the code or by analyzing the way it is built on the specific program. If you look at web3, it is not built on the normal programming languages that we actually see. It is built on Selenium.
Sorry to interrupt. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm just asking, you
Yeah.
told earlier that just clustering the transaction,
Yeah.
the between the two nodes.
Yeah.
Actually, I am saying that the
Yeah.
the transaction may not be similar in every situation. Like if today I am transferring some amount to someone,
Okay.
so the pathway it is following it will
Hmm.
not be similar in
Hmm.
future days when I will transfer some, well, I will initiate some transactions. So it may be some other nodes that the pathway will follow, and it will not be like the, I cannot cluster the similar transactions. Uh,
Okay. Uh, Good question yours. So let me break it down. If you're a normal person, obviously this will not be the same. This will be differentiated. Obviously, each time the nodes might differ, the blocks might differ. So here we are not talking about the nodes hashes, or we're not talking about the nodes that validate. But if you look for a terrorism organization, or if you look for some bigger organizations, the flow of funds would be similar. The blocks might vary, the nodes might vary, but the internal transaction that takes place between the nodes would be the same. For example, if assume there is a person A, he is a terrorism organization, he's constantly getting funds. So obviously he'll be sending funds to this specific address, because that is how their flow works. So since it is not like they just do the transaction once, there will be a sequential transactions. So by analyzing the addresses, we can find the clusters. That is what I meant over here.
okay, that means you can if some big organizations are
Hmm.
transacting, so
Hmm.
there will be some similarity or between the nodes. That is why you are saying what you are saying.
Hmm.
So in
Yeah.
case of in case of some personal transaction, that may be dissimilar, but in big organization there are some patterns, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If it is for a normal person who is initiating this, obviously he don't have the same pattern. He'll be of mixed ranges. Sometimes one day he'll initiate the transaction, the other day he may not initiate the transaction. It differs. But for some specific organization, they do this in a same pattern. Just think of the size. Probably if it is of one person or a specific small transaction, it won't cross. If you took at 90% of the transaction, it won't cross more than 2 BTC. But if you look at this organizations, a solid minimum of 1000 to 2000 bitcoins should be sent and received for one instance. And even it might go still up to 10,000 to 20,000 bitcoins, not $20,000. So the amount of traffic is also huge, the amount of cash flow is also huge na. That time the pattern would be similar, since their flow would be, even though they use different wallets, if you look at the sequence they are doing, because every transaction would be recorded on the blockchain, we can identify that. By understanding that in a deeper perspective, we can find the clusters, we can find the pattern.
So you said there will be some traffic when we initiate some transaction. So I don't know what is inside the block, right? So it
Hmm.
may be 2 BTC or it may be 2000 BTC. I don't know what is inside the block, and
Hmm.
it is only like you don't even know if the transaction is complete. Then also you don't even know what is the amount, what is inside the block.
No, no, actually wait. uh, if you look at the bitcoins, okay, I'll take you the best example. Bitcoins is not 100% anonymous, it is pseudo anonymous, which means if you go to BTC scan or any blockchain explorers, you can find the entire transaction that is taken place every second over the blockchain network. If you look at long back, all the terrorism organizations initially used bitcoins because they felt it is anonymous. But you can trace down the addresses in Bitcoin explorers, because this created the risk factor. That is the reason they stopped using bitcoins and they switched it to Monero. If you look at Monero, the advantage Monero has is, Monero is basically another cryptocurrency. The advantage that Monero has is, Monero, the normal users cannot view the transaction. Only the sender and receiver can view the transaction inside the Monero network. So that one advantage leverage that is being leveraged by these people, and that is the reason most of the terrorism organization that is functioning right now, they switched to Monero. Could you understand the
So
flow?
actually, the gist what you have said, that
Hmm.
actually the transaction of Bitcoin is traceable,
Yeah,
and it is not just completely anonymous. It is pseudo anonymous. So
exactly.
if I ask that, then if it is pseudo anonymous,
Yeah.
then why we are saying, we are just terming it as it is not right traceable through by a middleman. So you can just mm, you can just trace it, who is just initiating some transaction from through which pathway it is just going to the receiver. So it is
Okay.
traceable to some extent, right?
Okay. Let me clarify this first. So basically, you can uh, assume there is a boxing cage. Okay. Assume there is a boxing cage. There are two people who are fighting. Okay. You can watch the show via TV or television, but you cannot stop it. You cannot stop the fight, but you can still watch the show, right?
Yes.
Could you understand?
Yes, yes.
But another thing, you don't know who is fighting. You just know there are two people fighting, but there is no judge or jury to stop them, but you can still see them. That is how it goes on. Could you understand the relatability between these two examples? Could you understand this? I mean, you actually know something is happening. Okay, you know that two people are fighting, but you don't know who are those two fighters, who are those two boxers, and there is no people to control them, because if there is a judge or jury over there, he can stop it or he can prevent it. There is no judge or jury. Just two people is involved and they're just fighting in a secure environment. You don't know who are they, but you can only watch that two people are fighting. Simple. That is how blockchain goes on. You can see the transaction. There is no middleman involved. You don't know who is initiating which transaction, which person is actually doing the transaction, who is receiving or sending, but you can see that this amount of transaction is being sent. That's it. So this is the advantage as well as the disadvantage in Bitcoin. because we can see what happens, but we cannot prevent it. Could you understand
Okay.
this relatability?
Yes. But what you
Yeah,
have said earlier.
Elaborate. A little sorry for interrupting you, but we might not have more time left for the session. So
Oh,
maybe if you
sorry,
could
sorry,
take your
sorry, sorry, sorry,
question at the
sorry,
end.
sir.
No, no, you
That's
can
okay.
still ask it, but maybe if you could continue this conversation at the end of the session, uh, that would be fine.
We'll have a Q&A session at the end. Do collect your questions and stay tuned, okay?
Sure, sure, sure.
Okay. So if you look at the techniques in blockchain forensics, majorly it comprises of the first five methods, which is transaction tracing, address clustering, network analysis, entity attribution, and smart contract analysis. If you look at these two last two methods, which is history techniques and forensic platforms, these two are only used when there is a complex analysis taking place. If it is for a medium sized or small organization, small kind of transaction involved, obviously we'll be tracing down this entire flow using these five processes itself. So these are the major things. We rarely use this historic techniques and forensic tools and platforms, but still these historic techniques and this forensic tools and platforms, these hold a significant advantage. It gives much more additional information, but we'll be getting information in the first five methods itself. Yeah. Let me talk about certain case studies which I took today. The first case study I'm going to talk is Silk Road. Silk Road, the hottest term in 2013 to 2017. You know why? Because this is one of the kind of shopping platform which operates over dark web, which is a black market where you can buy and sell all the explicit things that are illegal: guns, ammos, narcotics, drugs, human organs, every single thing that was being sold on dark web using this was the site. It is a kind of Amazon for dark web. Millions of dollars of transaction was taken place, and later in 2013, FBI actually shut down the Silk Road, and the founder of the Silk Road is Ross Ulbricht. And you would wonder, they actually seized 1,44,000 bitcoins. This is a massive amount. This is a massive amount when it comes to an entire transaction. So if you look at the forensics involvement that took place to identify the specific person, is they actually used blockchain forensics to investigate. So how did they actually investigate?
Yes, you're right. The term block.
Sorry for the interruption. Yeah. So guys, what they actually did is they basically followed the specific transactional addresses. Probably he was actually cautious about the transaction which he sent. Ross was actually conscious. But when he sent one transaction to some other person, and again, if the transaction flow continues, by tracing down the trails of this transactions of Bitcoin, they identify that is Obrich wallet. But since this 1,44,000 bitcoins was only a small partition of the entire transaction that was taking place. This is just a 0.1 percentage of the entire transaction. Then assume what is the entire flow. I mean, what is the kind of entire funds? If you go to this specific dark web, I literally investigated more than 100 plus websites, and these 100 plus websites, each website minimum had a stakehold of $1,000, $1,000 of cryptocurrencies, which was being sent by every user. That is, they hold a significant volume for about 1,500 to 2,000 bitcoins each every website, and these were small websites itself. Even small websites could have 1,000 bitcoins. Just think of huge organizations like Silk Road. If you look at 2013, there is no security infrastructure. All the security was so low. But even then, that time, they did this much amount of transactions. Even this happens still now. Even 2 weeks back, we investigated about a specific, illegal red room. See, basically, they do all the explicit activities. Live murders are also there. Guys, one small information: all the things that we share here is purely for educational purposes only. We do not try to replicate or intend this kind of things. So make sure you take it for educational purposes only, because all the things I'm going to share is sensitive information. Okay, make sure you use it just for educational purposes only. And I was talking about this Silk Road. Recently, I saw a specific website which works like an OTT platform, just like Amazon Prime or Netflix. But instead of shows, they'll be telecasting live murders and live rapes. It still happens in dark web. There are n number of red rooms. We collaborated with certain organizations, certain LEAs, and we shut down certain websites. We shut down more than like 10 to 15 websites till now, and we are still on the process of still shutting down a lot more things. The second case study I've got over here is MedGox PTC. MedGox, one of the largest bitcoins in 2014. They handled over more than like 70 to 80% of all the Bitcoin transactions that was taking place in 2014. Now we got n number of crypto based exchanges, but that was the famous one. Accidentally, they lost over 8,50,000 bitcoins just because of an attack. They had a vulnerability, and using that vulnerability, an attacker hacked MTGOX official wallet and he stole around 8,50,000 worth of bitcoins. Guys, even recently, you might recently came across this Buzzrix Bitcoin hack, where $365 million worth of crypto coins was stolen. So still this goes on. It is not a one-time process that happened in history. It is still taking place. Even few months back, Binance one wallet was hacked, and later in 2016, these LEA law enforcement agencies from FBI and NIA, they found this using blockchain forensics only. They actually identified all the suspicious transactions that was leading to an external wallet. So how this hacker actually hacked is because he tried to get access for the private key first, but he failed to get the access for the private key. But later, he got access for the phrases, and after using that phrases, which is saved inside one computer inside MTGOX, he got those phrases, rearranged those phrases, and he got the correct sequence of those phrases, and using that phrases he got into the wallet and he just shifted that wallet. He transacted that entire 8,50,000 worth of bitcoins to a different wallet. So these law enforcement agency people, they just understood the flow of these transactions. After when 8,50,000 bitcoins was sent to this hacker's wallet, he initiated certain mixers, but since that mixers didn't work well, it reverted back to his original wallet, and since due to certain wrong transactions, people got him. But still they could not able to recover the entire 8,50,000, but a small portion, probably 40,000 to 50,000 bitcoins. They just claim it, they got 40,000 to 50,000 bitcoins, but still they got only 35,000 bitcoins. But still, most 90% of the bitcoins, it went stolen. It remained missing. So we saw about they doing this forensics, but how do we actually perform this forensics in real time? Is we have three different tools for the three different methodologies. The first thing that we have is chain analysis reactor. Basically, just this chain analysis reactor is a kind of tool that helps us in visualizing and enhancing the workflow of the transaction that takes place in the blockchain. I have one specific tool, which is this one, Multigo. Probably, if you're using Kali Linux, Kali Linux is a popular operating system that is used by people, especially cybersecurity researchers. And if you use that Multigo tool, you can identify the workflow of all the transactions, and it will also help you to identify all the suspicious activities. Multigo is one of the free tools. You can also try it. We have this second kind of tool called elliptic. This elliptic also uses to analyze the transactions for a financial crime or risk, but instead it uses the machine learning techniques. How does machine learning works? It just identifies the previous SQL patterns and it'll learn from those patterns and even it'll replicate. Now, same thing. This elliptic tool this utilizes the machine learning, the backend as machine learning, and using machine learning, it will analyze the entire transactions and it will give us relevant information regarding the addresses, regarding the hashes that the majority amounts of funds are being taken or the transact. It will actually give you the entire workflow of transaction in a pictorial format. Then we have cipher trace. This cipher trace is a kind of tool that is also similar. Moreover, all these tools gives you relevant information, but this cipher trace focuses on this compliance. This reduces risk. This is another tool. This is actually used in a lot of Web3 organizations, but we'll be using the chain analysis reactor based tools and elliptic reactor based tools for the maximum extent. So, Chatrapal, do we have enough time to also see the hands-on, or
So, like we are over the time limit, but if you have time right now, we could get 15 or 10 minutes more. That would be fine.
but it
No
will
issues.
also take us a still more time. Would that be all right, or should I cover this in the tomorrow session?
So like around how much time would it require right now?
Probably it would be of like if we clearly do this, it will require 30-40 minutes. But I just thought of having a Q&A session now. We can
Okay,
even
so
have this tomorrow.
yes, maybe then it would be better to have tomorrow itself because
Perfect.
like we are little stipulated.
Okay. So then let us have the Q&A session, guys. So I have this hands-on which where we'll be actually tracing down a real-time transaction over the blockchain. So this we'll be seeing on tomorrow's session. But today, just because of the time constraints, we can have this Q&A session now. I guess few people are asking me some queries, right? You could. I'm ready to answer the queries. We can have the Q&A session now.
So there was one question from Prashant Sharma in the chat. So he asks that if there's no middleman, then how is the digital money managed and who owns it and who owes whom? Uh, 1 second, I think sir accidentally disconnected. Just give me a second, I'll check with him.
Hello.
Yes,
Sorry, there
sir.
was small network before. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So Prashant Sharma has one question. So he had asked in chat that if there's no middleman, and then how is the money managed, or like who owns it and who owes the money, and how is it seen like that?
Okay. If you look at a specific blockchain technology, I have a specific wallet address. So all the funds would be stored under this wallet address. If I hold this much, I mean, for example, let's say I'm holding $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. So this amount of Bitcoin would be stored under the name of my wallet. Each and every wallet is differentiated by the unique wallet address. You won't get the same wallet address as you have. If you create a new wallet, your address will be unique. So it is a kind of unique identification number. Using that also we can differentiate. Since no middleman is involved, you can actually hold it. Basically, it is a kind of virtual currency. The only thing that is unique that identifies that you are the holder is your wallet address. That is how we identify who is the owner of the blockchain or who is the owner of this cryptocurrency. Yeah, Hrithik Roshan has raised his hand, I guess.
Yes, sir. Sir, my
Yeah,
question is, if
yeah,
there is no middleman,
yeah.
then how I can get cash? So there is crypto. How can I get Indian rupees or dollar money in
Okay.
cash?
Okay. Uh, since there is no involvement of this middleman, your question is actually good, man. Loved your question. Let me tell you, that is the reason there is centralized exchanges. So if you look at the way the blockchain networks operated during the 2013 2014, if I have cash, if you have Bitcoin, we'll be exchanging that. Basically, you'll be sending the Bitcoins, I'll be giving you cash. So this is how the method that existed in 2013 and 2014. But after later stages, what happened is people began developing a centralized exchange where the centralized exchange pays you currency for bitcoins, or if you pay them currency, they'll exchange you for bitcoins. If you look at decentralized exchanges, you can only exchange cryptos to cryptos, not with Indian currency or dollars. Only centralized exchanges would offer that. If you use centralized exchanges, definitely you need to do your KYC. So by using centralized exchanges, you can convert your bitcoins into your local cash. If you don't want to use your centralized exchanges, then you have to opt for internal transaction with your peer-to-peer groups.
So
But
you are saying for
yeah,
for Bitcoin, there
yeah,
is a normal Bitcoin to Bitcoin trade, but whenever
yeah.
I would like to get cash, I would transfer to a company that is a centralized one. I will transfer some Bitcoin to that company, let's say the bank of the Bitcoin,
Hmm.
and then that bank will take that Bitcoin in hand, and in return he will give me some money.
Uh, the concept that you're telling me is actually right, but let me explain you still more deeper. You're a bit confused, okay? You see, guys, we have two different types of exchanges. As I told you, decentralized exchanges and centralized exchanges. This centralized exchanges, uh, these decentralized exchanges, you can only convert your crypto to some other crypto. If I want Ethereum, I can give my Bitcoin and I can get Ethereum. And if I want Tron, I can give my USDT, which is USDT is stable coin. That is another kind of cryptocurrency. I can use that coin and I can convert. I can just convert the kind of coin, but I cannot get cash. But if you go for these centralized exchanges, you can these companies like Binance, Wazirix, KuCoin, they offer this feature, which where you can give your bitcoins and get cash, or you can give your cash and get bitcoins. And you can also do one more thing where we have this peer-to-peer. This peer-to-peer transaction is like you find all the people who are willing to sell. Assume there is a group of 1,000 people, and one people want to buy $100 of Bitcoin, and you have $100 of Bitcoin, and you want to sell them. So these platforms will interlink you both, so that you will initiate a transaction between yourself. So that is how the buy and sell of transaction takes place over blockchain, specifically on P2P networks.
Okay, got it. I got it that how the transfer happened. But in case of the decentralized, you are saying that there is Bitcoin to Bitcoin. So I am
Yeah.
new to the Bitcoin. I have only cash. I have never come to the Bitcoin.
Hmm.
Then how I could buy a Bitcoin? That would be impossible for me.
Okay. If you're new to crypto, if you want to purchase bitcoins, what you have to do is you can go for any person. For example, if you know your friend or someone in your peer group, if he has Bitcoin, you can give your cash and get Bitcoins from him. If not, you can use this peer-to-peer exchanges and centralized exchanges to get that. Binance offers P2P, and also Binance have their own centralized exchanges. Using that, you can verify your KYC details. After verifying that, you can
No, I want to
initialize.
be anonymous, so I don't want to go to Binance.
If you want to be anonymous, then obviously you have to initiate the transaction between your peer groups itself. If you know someone who has this, even if you're using internet banking, that is not anonymous, because that transaction will be recorded, right? Could you understand what I'm trying to say? Even if you hold this cash inside your bank account, that is traceable, that is notable. We can't initiate an transaction. If you want to initiate a transaction and you are actually creating black money, it's a kind of you're coming out of this ID taxing. Most of the
Yeah,
people from Saudi, most of the people from US, What they used to do is once they get their salary, they just convert it into crypto because they don't have tax on crypto. Only we have tax. We have 30% tax on crypto, Indians, just because our government sees or our government feels that crypto is an asset. That is the reason we have 20% of VDI. And
Okay,
in order to
got
break
it.
it down, what we can do is what these people actually, these people who get salary from there, they convert their dollars into bitcoins, send that to here, which is their Indian friend. Then they'll get their cash, hand cash from their friend in India, so that they can exempt the tax.
Okay,
This is
I
also,
got the point. But the decentralized, the pseudo-anonymous part that you are telling initially, I am not going to ban on means the centralized Bitcoin things. Whatever, so somewhere I will go to the online. So there will be some website or something no for that
yeah,
decentralized part also.
yeah.
So what is that?
N number of websites offer that, like PancakeSwap and CoinSwap,
So do
OKX.
they do the public private key something like that? Not KYC or other thing.
They don't need KYC, but you cannot convert your cash into bitcoins. But if you want to convert your cryptocurrencies, you can actually go for them. I have bitcoins, but I want BNB, which is a Binance coin. Or if I have Tron, I want USDT. If you want to convert your cryptocurrencies to a different cryptocurrency, you can actually go for decentralized exchanges and you can actually convert them. But since you cannot convert your cash, this INR or dollars over there, if you want to convert them, obviously you have to go for a centralized exchange, or you have to buy it from your peer groups. That's how it goes on. That is the main reason. That is one of the crucial reason that these organizations rely on bitcoins, because it is not easy to get bitcoins, and it is not easy to convert that bitcoins. It is not easy to trace them also.
Okay.
Oh, Oshin, I have a question. Can
Yeah,
I ask?
yeah, go ahead.
Oshin, uh, uh, assume suddenly a man hold a lot of Bitcoin by
Yeah.
exchanging cash.
Hmm.
It is a peer-to-peer method happened. You already said. And
Okay.
then, if there is any process to track or investigate how they hold lot of Bitcoin
Okay.
suddenly.
Okay.
So if
Uh, if you look at the first thing, let me come again with an investigator's perspective first.
hmm,
If there is a sudden rise in bitcoins in one's wallet, obviously that would be recorded inside the blockchain network. First, the first thing that we have to do is, if he is the victim, we'll be fixing the target, right? Once that fixing of target is done, we have to identify which mean of transaction is taken place. For example, if he wanted to purchase that amount of bitcoins, definitely he would have initiated a transaction. It might be from his bank account, or it might be from some other accounts, or some transaction would definitely have taken place in Indian currency. Without transaction, it is hardly possible. And if we identify the root path,
yes,
definitely equivalent amount of funds would be transacted to a bank account, or it would be sent somewhere. If we
no,
identify that source,
no, I wish to say it's happened only by cash exchange. Hmm.
by
By
cash exchange.
yes, and
Then
the
what we can
blockchain
do
is
is, hmm,
decentralized. Hmm.
okay.
Then
Uh, in that case, what we can do is, obviously one address would be the sender's address. This person's address is the receiver's address. Now, there will be one person who initiated the transaction by sending the Bitcoin. If we identify who is that sender, he cannot directly go to a decentralized exchange and he can give his cash. That is not possible in decentralized exchange. Even if you go for a peer-to-peer exchange, definitely if you give cash or if you do something, definitely there will be if you do cash, there will be no transaction. If we cannot record the payment method, but if it
hmm,
is off, but people in online peer-to-peer exchanges, they don't rely on cash. They either do this NEFT, UMPS, IMPS or UPI. These kind of transactions only takes place in an online peer-to-peer transaction. If it is an offline peer-to-peer transaction, only then people will be giving us cash. and getting bitcoins. Even in that case, we can know the sender who sent the bitcoins. If we trace the sender, obviously he'll be sending a lot of bitcoins now to some other people. Since he's a bitcoin seller, definitely he would have sent his cryptocurrency to his friends who would have at least done one exchange on centralized exchanges. If you identify that one person, find his KYC details, obviously that person would be a friend of this person. By this
Okay,
also you
actually, we can just catch the sender only.
yeah, not only
Uh,
by catching the sender, but also by catching the people who are related to sender also we can catch them.
oh, there is
Could
a
you understand the point?
who are that means the how the sender accumulate this Bitcoin. We can also trace this. Huh?
Exactly. But we
Uh,
will not be just looking at this two transaction. We'll be having the future I mean the past transactions also to ensure the proper workflow.
oh, okay, okay,
Any other
okay.
query? Okay.
Does anyone else have any question which he or she might want to ask?
Feel free to ask your queries, guys.
Looks like we don't have any queries, so maybe we could then end the meet. And
Oh, Oshit, can I ask another question, Oshit?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. You're always
Oshit,
welcome.
how can the system sense that mean when a new Bitcoin holder is appear or introduced,
Hmm.
how the blockchain system create a unique address?
Basically, they have this different algorithm which is similar to SHA-56. SHA-56 is one of the the widely used algorithm for encryption purpose. So by using this SHA-56 and certain another inbuilt, see, how many of you know about Bitcoin mining? Have you heard of this Bitcoin mining?
I just heard mm,
Yeah,
someone.
I have seen the someone
Yeah,
using their whole GPU, CPU
exactly.
power. I don't know how they
Nowadays, it
mine.
is popular. What's the name of this coin is Pi mining. I saw some friends
Yeah,
doing
Pi mining.
Pi mining on their
Pi
phone.
is Pi coin is one of the trending coin, and that could also be mined using your mobile phones. But if you look at the top popular cryptocurrencies, how do they pay? Basically, this it is mathematics. It is mathematics. Basically, your computer solves the algorithm. By solving algorithms, you'll be rewarded with the specific crypto token. So this why does they reward us with tokens if we solve these algorithms? If you
But so
solve these
who will
algorithms,
award?
if you solve these algorithms, automatically automatically your system would be added as another node inside the blockchain network, and your node also will validate the transaction that are verified. You'll be verifying all the transactions. So just because of this activity that is verifying transactions, you can earn. That is what it is called as Bitcoin mining.
Hmm.
So if
But
you
Bitcoin
create a new
mining,
token, yeah, just give me
but
one more
Bitcoin
minute.
mining is
Yeah, yeah,
doing some extra thing. Means money can be taken in exchange of some work. So you will give money to me only if I add some value to you. But
exactly.
Bitcoin mining is something like creating a new money. So that is
No,
a
no, no.
very
You're not
straightforward.
creating new money. No, no, no. You're not creating new money. It's not like that completely. You'll be rewarding with money. See, if you go to Bitcoin, you have a limited supply. You cannot create more Bitcoins. It's not like that. The founder of Bitcoins is Satoshi Nakamoto. Okay. He fixed that only this much amount of Bitcoins are there. Nobody, literally no one could exceed this limit. So this limit will also be burnt, like 10,000, 20,000. These much amount of coins would be burnt every year, which means they are not supposed to use. They'll be clearing off these coins. They are limiting the supply. you know about the demand supply gap, right? You'll be rewarded cryptocurrencies. You'll be rewarded with the coins just because of the work you do. It's not like creating a new coin. It is like giving you the token in exchange of the GPU power that you give to the network. Okay. Basically, you'll be paid for the GPU power that you give. That's it. You're not creating new token. You're not creating a new cryptocurrency. You're actually getting certain cryptocurrencies as an incentives for exchange of your power, exchange of your GPU power. That helps them. You might think, what does this help them? Bitcoin is a huge network. It requires a lot of computation, lot of process for their servers. So in exchange of that only you are being rewarded.
It is like torrent upload that we give.
It is similar to torrent upload, but not exactly similar. It is close to similar. Got it?
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I think if all the computer is shut down,
Hmm.
assume enter the world the computer where the Bitcoin is alive. If all the computers is shut down, then Bitcoin will be vanished.
No,
Is it happen or not?
no, that's not possible.
Then
Because if you look at the number of nodes that exist inside the blockchain, there are more than billions of nodes, billions of computers. And
billions
even
of
though
nodes clients, huh? Billions of node means I think here is correct clients or number of computer they used
number of computers that validate
or
the
or,
transaction.
or IP address I think.
No, 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 no. These number of nodes denote the number of computers that validate the transactions. And even if these millions of computers shut down,
At a
people
time, assume at a time they suddenly shut down.
at that
Then
time,
what happened? At a
at
time,
that time, these transaction will process. Okay, this transaction will process, but validation alone will not take place. This will cause some internal errors inside the validation part, but that will not disrupt the existence of Bitcoin. Okay.
where the wall memory will store, and after starting the machine, then we is recovery these yeah messages. How it is done?
if uh, if you I'll give you practical example.
Hmm.
If you go for an IT organization, definitely they'll have their data inside the server. If data is gone, if the data inside the server is gone, if they don't have backup, that's it. They can't do anything, nah? If they don't have backup and if the server is switched off, they can't do anything. But
Oh,
what if 100 employees are also having all the data? Then even though server is hacked, or even though 500 or 700 employees are hacked, still we have, even if we have one person using the blockchain, he holds the data, na?
oh, it's. Yeah. I think there must be some hard store. There all the uh, data will be stored, and when the entire system is cracked down, and after all happen, they can restart from this
Exactly.
situation.
A
It will
lot of
happen.
people,
Hmm.
I saw a lot of people who bought bitcoins in 2017 and 2000, 2018, I guess. What they did is, rather storing inside their mobile phone, they stored inside hardware wallets. Even you can store bitcoins in your pen drive.
Oh,
It is a data, it is an information. You can also store that inside pen drives also. Even Ledger, there is a specific kind of hardware based wallets where you can store cryptocurrencies. Same way, few people stored during that time Bitcoin's price was so low. So they initiated the purchase and they holded it. They stored inside their pen drives. And this guy, one of my friend, he lost the pen drive. Had a solid count of like 50 bitcoins over there, and he lost
uh,
that.
huge
And
amount.
after, and after that, in 2023, last year, sorry, previous year, he found that specific pen drive, and again he retrieved the funds back. Even though if your wallets are lost, even though you deleted your entire application, if you know that 12 words, if you create a wallet, obviously you'll be given 12 different words. You don't have a password for your wallet. You'll be having
Mm-hmm.
just 12 different words called as the phrases. If you safely know the phrases, no matter how many years, you can retrieve your funds back.
It is a
Oh,
string 12 digit 12 words, so that will
12
be
words,
alphabetical.
12 words, yes, yes.
So
exactly.
we can store in a text file or PDF file anywhere, right?
If you store in a PDF or text file, if I hack that file, I can also use the words. Na, don't do it actually. Few people actually do this.
So
They used to store
where
this in
they
their
store?
text file or PDF files. It is easy to hack a PDF file or a text file, and using that data, I can just directly log into your wallet and exploit it. Nah, don't do that.
Yeah, so that hard drive in which file, or what would be file extension, or what will be file type they store?
DAT, wallet.dat.
Okay, that is some encrypted file, right?
Exactly. Wallet.dat. This would be the file extension. If you're storing something, if you're storing your cryptocurrencies on your hard drive or your pen drives. Got it?
Yeah, got it.
It's very interesting. Hmm.
Thank you. Any
Okay,
other
so
questions, guys?
looks like we don't have any questions for now. So maybe we could end this meet and let's meet tomorrow for the next session. It would be also from the same time, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., and we would be covering the hands-on learning to tomorrow. And for now, I thank you for being there, everyone. Thank you for attending this session, and thank you for all the questions. Yeah, it was really glad hearing all the conversation and you guys asking. That was very good. I really enjoyed the conversations there. And let's meet tomorrow. For now, the session, let's close that. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
giving your time and the half an hour extra which you gave for the questions. That means a lot. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome always. Thank you for your cooperation, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwin.